Hi, my name is Kathryn Kampovsky, and I'm here with DesireList doing a tutorial on how to paint an eyebrow. This is brought to you thanks to Purple. I'm sitting here on the ultimate seat cushion. I love this because it helps me stay relaxed and keep my posture right when I'm doing a long painting. One main thing that happens to artists is back problems from sitting or standing for so long and not really moving. So I've got my cushion, I'm in a comfortable space. I'm gonna talk you guys through an eyebrow and a little bit about doing brush strokes, and then we'll get started on a portrait. So the eyebrow is a little bit interesting because there's so much variety in people's eyebrows, but I just wanna make a few quick notes on how to do it. The reference photo for this particular painting has very thick, dark eyebrows, which is not the case for every portrait that I paint, but the darkest shade in this particular eyebrow is black, so we're gonna go in with that. And I usually block in this dense part of the eyebrow first, because you don't necessarily have to have hair strokes. And then as you get towards the outer and inner corners of the eyebrow, the color may change, it may lighten because there's a little bit of skin tone showing through. So I'm just gonna do that. I also I want to have a little bit of her skin tone already laid in. So I'm going to mix a bit of the eyebrow area because I like to blend the color of the skin into the eyebrow hair. So I'm just going to lay it underneath the eyebrow. And then as you get to the high point of the brow bone, keep in mind that it does get lighter typically. So we've got a little highlight. This doesn't have to be super clean because it's going to get blended into the eyebrow. And then on top she's got a pretty light color, but I want to put a little bit in. This helps make eyebrows look more realistic. One thing I will say is that when possible, I just put the entire skin tone over the area that the eyebrow will eventually be, and then I do the hair strokes on top of the skin just like it would be on a real person's face. So that's just a little bit of skin so that we can show the entirety of doing an eyebrow. And just blend it out a little bit, and then we're gonna go back in with some eyebrow hairs. So as I mentioned, the eyebrow gets finer towards the inside, and then the hairs become more sparse towards the outside. So I'm just gonna go in, sort of follow her natural arch first. I'm gonna mix in a little bit of red because it's a little bit lighter towards the end. And then just feather some eyebrow hairs in like that. And it's perfectly fine to drag the skin tone into the eyebrow. That makes it look a little more realistic anyways. And ideally, this is a very small painting. This is the brush that I typically use for an eyebrow. But for this eyebrow, I would prefer to have a smaller brush, but I don't have one available. You want to make sure that the eyebrow hairs are not super lined up and organized because eyebrow hairs are not particularly uniform, and if you have them distanced equally apart, then it makes it look a little bit amateurish. So then we're gonna blend this out. This part, there's not really an eyebrow, individual eyebrow hair stroke. Sometimes I'll do like a rogue hair over there. And then following your strokes, need to follow the natural shape of the eyebrow. So hairs go up here and then sort of start folding down and then going out towards the end. And then for the front of the eyebrow, I'm gonna use a much lighter color. A little bit reddish purple. And then you just sort of want to feather them up. And this is subject to change with different people's eyebrows, but this reference photo has, like I said, thick eyebrows with some strong hairs towards the front, so we're gonna draw those in. And then blend this out. A few more little hairs. Bring this up, get the arch how you want it. I kind of want it I want this to blend a little bit more and go a little bit farther down. And there we go. And then for people with lighter eyebrows, sometimes I'll go back in and add some highlights to the individual hairs of her eyebrow. I'm not going to do that here because, as I mentioned, these are very thick, dense eyebrows. So there we go. And then you can always go back towards the end of your painting and detail in a few more fine hairs. Depends on the level of realism that you're trying to achieve, but that's how I do an eyebrow. So everything that I just did is pretty much what I would do on this eyebrow. Typically in a portrait, there's a more dominant eyebrow, or one that's like closer to the camera. So that would be this one. This one would be the same effect. Usually it's darker because this is the side of the face is in shadow. And then you sort of just lay down the eyebrow on this side as well to where it matches the reference photo. But since the side is in shadow, it's harder to see the individual hairs, and it's more of just a black blob. And you also can't see this feathered out part of her eyebrow. So just throw that in there and then do a little bit of feathering here, which you could blend out when you get working on the face. But that should do it. So the technique that I'm leaning on for eyebrows is also the technique that I'll sometimes use for eyelashes or the fine hairs around the face, and that is feathering, which basically, as you can see in the eyebrows, is where you're just using the thin side of a brush typically to bring some hair-like strokes into the face. Feathering is something that I really only find myself using when I'm doing the detailed parts of the face, like the eyebrows and the eyelashes and the hair, so it's last. But as you can see, like especially in the front of the eyebrow, you sort of feather those hairs up to give it a realistic look. And basically all you do is you drag the thin part of a brush through the paint, and then keep that thin side onto the canvas while you're making the strokes. And it lends itself to being sort of hair-like and helps you get really, really good and realistic looking eyebrows and eyelashes.